Clappable.
There we go. He knows what to do.
Paul Clifford, Flourish.
Welcome to the Cherrywood Podcast with me, Simon Burridge.
And me, Rachel Burridge.
You're a bit close to that
A
mic.
bit closer.
Right.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine. It's only
A bit
me.
intrusive, but we'll go with it.
It's very close to this
Isn't
podcast.
it? Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, this is, yeah.
Right, Paul, before we start, the sign, do you know how long it'll be before that'll fall off? Did you know about the sign?
Oh, I had seen something about that.
It's a charity thing. So if you're on the nearest £100 to a charity of your choice.
Oh, okay. I know I'd give this in time, do I?
Yeah.
So, 20 minutes.
That's quite good.
It's not a bad chat, actually. No, I'm not telling him anything. That's enough.
Like
If I've got new tape on it. The tape's 2 podcasts old.
That makes a whole load of difference.
Yeah, degradation.
Don't give him tips.
Yeah, sort of building it all in now.
Because if anything,
Yeah.
you probably know the best time for it to fall off for all these podcasts.
If worst case, I can
I
always
have a
nudge.
go?
You're staying for 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Well, we'll wait till it goes down and then we know. And I'll thank you. Good night.
And that's it. That's
Yeah,
the
we're
podcast
done.
over.
Right, we're going to sponsors quickly and then we'll come back and the time will start when we come back. All right.
Fantastic.
Today's sponsors are Dimodici Associates, Chartered Structural and Civil Engineers.
Based in the UK with a worldwide reach.
Visit their website on dimodiciassociates.com.
New Digital, helping businesses build their online presence with web design, SEO, Google Ads, and social media. Get 10% off when you quote Cherrywood today. Visit their website at nudigitalera.co.uk.
And we're back.
We're back.
Right, there we go.
It felt seamless.
It was.
It was amazing.
It was seamless.
Just keep that in when you
I always keep it clicking, yeah. It sort of
You
helps.
know.
I can see it on the timeline. Yeah. Right, Paul, tell us about yourself.
Oh, well,
Thank you
I'll
for
put my
coming.
tea
We
down.
invited you, didn't we? We invited
You
you
did,
to the
yes.
podcast.
Yeah. Through past working together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we bumped into each other in a shopping centre. Which
Yeah,
is where
and-
I tend to spend a lot of my life.
And I've made some promotional videos for you talking
You did?
about how your background as well. Not in too much depth talking about your background, but you've worked at a few places and I thought it would be
Yeah.
quite an interesting podcast
Yeah.
to see your
We'll see how that
business
goes.
story.
We'll see how that goes.
Oh, yeah, if it doesn't
You
come
maybe
out,
need
you
to-
know I wasn't happy with it.
If it doesn't come out, there's like a snooze meter on the side with shutting eyes. Yeah.
Or just one of those little circles. We just put that on constantly going, oh, sorry.
Unfortunately.
Or the pint glass slowly going down. Yeah.
Sorry,
something like
Paul,
that.
we lost the footage on this one.
Can you imagine, though, if you actually did? You had to write him up, go, I'm really sorry. You
Yeah.
know we
Yeah,
joked.
Yeah.
Just a sleepy puppet in the background. We're digressing. We're going right off track here, aren't we?
Well, you can talk about whatever you want. Childhood.
Childhood. Oh my, nice, like a therapy session.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more tears, the more likes. You know,
Is that you?
usually.
I do try and make
Usually.
him cry.
Yeah.
Good. How do
Nightmare.
I won't ask how you do that.
I've just got to film a speech at a wedding, and I'm crying. I'm a nightmare.
Safe word banana. Okay, so so here we are. So I'll tell you a bit about Flourish. So Flourish is a company where we work with shopping centres up and down the country. We have about 47, 48 shopping centres from Kent through to Scotland. And the objective is to offer small businesses the opportunity to access space without long leases and agreements that means that they'll lose their house and all the other stuff, and also try and make it a bit more user friendly. So we don't use the generic terms like pax rent and all inclusive, and we talk to people and say, this is your business, let's look at how we can make this work, and this is the document, and this is how it works, and we try and come up with rental positions that work for both them and the client and us.
So just to clarify, you've got a shopping centre. You've got
Yes.
the brick built shops either side.
Yes.
You're talking about the stuff in the centre, in between them,
Mostly
usually.
that. Yes,
Usually.
mostly that stuff. So the little kiosks,
Yeah.
might mostly be mobile phones, or
Yeah.
there'll be beauty bars, but we have all sorts of things. We have people that do bath bombs, or they'll do. We've got
I love her
food.
bath bombs.
What in
Chatham bath
Chatham.
bomb, yeah.
She's lovely, Jo.
Yeah,
so
she's lovely.
Jo makes those in the basement of her house. This doesn't get dark. So she has a
Maybe we'll get Joe in there.
a big. She's got a big industrial mixer which she makes these things up and produces these. And now she's diversing into painting glasses and things, which is also selling quite well. So, but she's been with us about 2 years. We sort of inherited it. I don't know if that's the right word. She came from another shopping centre that she didn't feel particularly comfortable with, and then yeah, we just, again, talked to her like a human, helped her along the way, and she's been there for about 2 and a bit years, you know. And so, yes, but we've got most of our centres are made up mostly of local occupants, so people that are from the local area who've got an idea, want to do something, and they're not entirely sure how to access shopping centres. And shopping centres are seen as this almost scary, inaccessible, run by people with hats and pens and MBAs, and they probably are, but we're the sort of middle person who sort of tries to make it manageable and accessible and easy and possible. And then we don't put people in a position where they are potentially going to lose their shirt or whatever it is, the terminology you use. But it gives people with just an idea, and not necessarily an educational background, access to...
It's like a trial, isn't it?
It is a trial. Yeah, it's a trial, but it could be a day, a week, a month, a year. It could be anything. And they determine that. But we never, and also we work people. If it's not working out, we do our best. We also support them. We give them guidance, how to set up, how to promote. We've got another company we work with who helps them with developing open bank accounts, social media, building we call it omni-channel. I'm going to throw in one word, omni-channel, which means essentially online and physical selling. Okay, that's all it is. So we try, and they're both important potentially.
So is that on me?
Omni, OMNI.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think.
Like omnipresence.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
there we go. Yeah. Although my dyslexic could kick in there and I could get that completely wrong.
I'm also dyslexic, so...
Oh, well, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. In fact, I was only recently diagnosed with ADHD, which I thought was additionally interesting. So I don't know where that's going to take us. But let's see where we go with it.
Dyslexics rule KO. Okay.
Not that. Sorry, I'm slow on the uptake on that one.
No. This is where my ADHD is now kicking in, and I'm thinking I don't know where he's going. But,
right, brilliant.
So it's good that you're connected. Okay, so good.
Well, we have to have one sensible one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just haven't worked out which one it is.
It ebbs, it
we
flows.
take it. So you're sort of like the in-between person as such?
Yeah.
So you have to obviously deal with the big shopping centres, like you said, like the scary people behind it all. You have to deal with those as well, do you?
Yeah, they're not so scary. I mean, most of them are owned by funds who are almost like a bank. So it's a bit like saying it's owned by Barclays. It isn't a human, it's a fund. But you'll find the people that work within the shopping centres, the centre management team are passionate about that scheme. They want it to work well and they understand the local connection and opportunity. And you'll see more of that. Over the next 5 or 6 years, you'll see more local initiatives. So in Pentagon, for example, they're doing an innovation hub at the moment, which is the idea to bring in new business to develop and grow within the local area. And you'll see more and more of that happening up and down the country because over the last 20 years, you've seen so much change. All the big brands have gone, Debenhams have gone. Yeah. And if you go back over the last 20, 30 years, people remember Woolworths. Probably not yourself, but pick a mix. And if you go back further, BHS. If you go back further, Alders. If you go back further, Rumbelows. If you go back further, Tempo. It goes back. But essentially, every 10 years, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. So what you need is new.
Yeah.
And if you take little companies, take the big guys, Tesco, Sainsbury's, all started as little shops. But the world was quite different then and not so difficult to grow. So we're trying to identify and work with these little businesses and give them access. And also, a lot of them don't think that they can do it because they don't necessarily have the business acumen. I am probably the greatest example of someone who's running a company who has no qualifications. I have probably the worst in my company, if not my household.
That's really strange because I don't know anything about you and qualifications, but I would have guessed like a university or something like that.
I'm an incredible liar. That's what I am.
But I honestly would have.
No,
you represent yourself. You present yourself well.
A lot of people on this podcast have said, I haven't been the best at school, or I wasn't interested at school, or I did the bare minimum. But when they get out and they actually do something they're passionate about, they give it 110%, and they know exactly what to do. They know exactly where to market it, where to focus on, and everything like that. Yeah. So I think once you do, if you're not into school, then it's not for everyone, right?
No, it's not really the prerequisite for success. If you look at some of the most successful people, let's take Richard Branson example. And he has dyslexia, and well documented as such. And at one point, he was running 50 companies and didn't understand the difference between net and gross profit. And he talks about that story in most of his podcasts. But I certainly, although my first school was a private school, it was mostly due to the fact my parents wanted me to have a good education. But the reality was we lived on a council estate, and all of the kids were okay.
Where are you from?
Epsom. Sorry, no. Where was I born? I was born in Kingston.
Right. Okay.
So we lived not too far from there. We lived on a council estate there. My parents came over in the late '60s from Dublin. Started trying to make a life for themselves. Decided they wanted me or something like me. They ended up with me. I can't. They're stuck now.
Don't have much of a choice, do you?
They
Really?
didn't. It was pay your money, takes your chances. So and then saved up, put me into private education. But unfortunately, I was always the poor kid in that school. So it was a very different world. Not that kids were particularly, I wouldn't say were particularly prejudicial. I mean, it was mostly probably the teachers more than anything, because they always knew you were from the council estate down the road. So from there, your pretty much formative years are. So most of I found some of my reports which mostly said stares out the window daydreaming. That was a pretty consistent pattern through my schooling, and after that I went to state school, and by the time you've already determined I'm not a scholar, I'm not going to be a scholar, and so you just pivot according to whatever you're faced with that particular day. Ending up in one of my schools, we had a class called Special Skills, which was broadly, I think the other kids used to call it the window lickers room. And we were essentially just it was almost like the bunch of kids. They didn't know what to do with us. So it was like, we'll create this thing called Special Skills, put them in there, and we get rid of them but it was the best place because I could once again stare out the window without prejudice.
And they didn't mind.
And they didn't mind.
I was in the same thing.
Oh.
Similar thing, yeah. It's called Room 23.
Which
Makes it sound like an 80s.
Horrific.
Like, it makes it sound like an 80s.
They didn't even brand it.
Kids TV show, like Number 73. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but 23 sounds a bit more.
Yeah, Room
more
23
sinister.
it's called.
Oh, that sounds like
But
a
before
prison.
that it was called Shell, I think it was called. Shell.
That's even worse.
Yeah, and they got some stick. And they changed it to Room 23.
Oh, that helped.
And then we went to do a concert, and we'd even spelt the poster of that wrong, which really does then hone in on the problems you got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just says, we told you. Yeah, this is what they are. This is what they are.
Yeah.
They are what they are. I mean, it was, I felt sometimes bad for my parents. I remember having, in those days, I've only raised weeks, we have nephews that have open evenings, which are all on Zoom now.
Oh, everything's on Zoom.
What is that about?
Yeah,
Anyway,
I know, 5 minutes exactly with Tilly's school, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's on a timer.
It's just nuts, isn't it? I mean, talk about taking out any. I mean, that's a whole other thing, isn't it? About contact and human social elements. But nevertheless, they in those days they used to go to school. I remember telling my parents, my mum in particular, saying, I didn't want to tell her. We've got an open evening. And she said, if you think if I'm going to go there and get abused by your teachers again, you've got another thing coming. And she had a point, because all they would do was kick off about me mostly not applying myself and staring out the window. So that was pretty much my education in a nutshell. And when I eventually left, they used to have careers teachers. I was out with some people not long ago and we were talking about it. And I remember they used to have a printout. Now, this is the days the printouts were not a thing.
Dot matrix.
It was BBC computers, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember it was almost official, the way we're going to look at you and everything about you, and this is going to kick out something, a bit like Willy Wonka, you know. And he just looked at it and said, "Well, you know, you look strong, so perhaps labouring work."
Wow.
So, and I was like, oh, because he knows what he's talking about. So that's what I went and done. So I went off and did labouring work, was in building work for a few years. Yeah, I did that till about 91. And then the building work all dried up. Houses were going into negative equity. And then I went into, by absolute coincidence, just sort of by coincidence, I'd built bikes as a kid. So I built my own bicycles and got a job in a bike shop.
Right.
Just because I needed some work. And then it worked out quite quickly that I was quite good with people and I was able to sell at quite a rate. And I thought, I'm all right at this.
Selling more than you're fixing.
Yeah, selling more than fixing. Yeah. Well, we had a guy, at that point, bikes were a little more complicated. So my skill set had not really stretched to modern, I say modern bikes, this is the 90s. But nevertheless, it was with rally and it was kind of, okay, this is quite cool. And I was selling bikes at quite a rate. I thought, and then I was pretty much the top in the company. And so then I thought, okay, I'm not crap at everything, it turns out. I'm quite good with people, as it turns out. So that's how that began. And then I worked with a blue chip company, which was Boots Group, who owned Halfords at the time. And I took every training course available. They had a book of which you would call up and say, yeah, can I take that up? And I went through the whole book. I mean, they had training courses in those days, things like communication skills, 5-day residential course on communication, how to communicate with others, how to deal with conflict. I mean, just amazing.
You liked it?
Oh, brilliant. It was great. It was about how to deal with conflict. It was about passive-aggressive communication. It was.
Can you imagine this day and age?
Oh, that would never happen.
You've got a week on communication. They'd be like, what the hell? Just give it to me in an hour.
Just wrap it up. Yeah. Stick it on a podcast and I'll be done.
Yeah, it's next page, isn't it? Next. Answer these 3 questions. Yeah. Should you have told them to sod off? And ignored them? I said, yeah, no problem at all. Let's discuss it further.
No problem. Yeah. Pace down. They even had, I think, a second course bolt-on after that, which I think I also went to. So I thought, I'm taking it all. So there was dozens of courses.
And then, course, didn't you?
I did love a course back then. Well, I think that lent into my schooling and my lack of achievement at school, because I didn't have any certificates. I thought, I need a certificate of some sort.
So it gave you a bit of drive.
So I thought, I'm going to... And I turned out to be... And I was able to do them. So I did. I went through everything, then became a store manager.
Once again, you wanted to do them, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think
the same as me. If there's something I want to learn, I'll learn it. Even if it's teaching it myself, I'll learn it, you know?
Yeah.
But if they're trying to push something on me and I'm not interested, that's it. It's game over. Staring out the window.
Yeah, that's the same with any form of engagement. I think in part is that unless some people who engage with something, they're not really going to. We do what we love. There are things we have to do.
Yes.
And there are things that we love to do. But at school, I don't think in those days they necessarily connected particularly well with the kids, and so it was all a bit laughable, really. And then I went through retail. I was in retail, went through various stores, started to manage stores, which was bizarre to me at the time, from a couple of 100,000 turnover to, I think the biggest one was IKEA, 152 million
IKEA
in Wimbledon. Right, sorry, not in Wimbledon, in Wembley. Sorry, and then I've gone to shopping centres. Started managing shopping centres and started to connect all these things together. This was a sector that what I do now. But I just thought I could do it better than the others, and that's how this developed into something. And was an MD of a company for about 8 years, grew it with partners. They wanted it to go one way, which is more in line with the broader market. I constantly want to do things really well. I think I'm a bit OCD like that. And then started up my own company in 2018. Had a couple of centres in 2019. Get going, COVID.
Oh,
yeah.
So
that was fun.
How did that affect you then?
Entirely, because there was no income.
Yeah.
So I had to sell off stuff. I had to, it was tough because there was just no income. But I used that time as wisely as I could. So I would network and really, even with the 2 centres I had at the time, which were in Southampton, they weren't covering our costs. They were not paying me, and they weren't paying so I was a bit. But we came out with 6. And by May, and I'm talking about a year of COVID, we came out with 6. And then we started to put ourselves into a position where we were able to pay our bills, and we were starting to become a bit profitable. And it grew from there, really. And then we started to be able to be a bit more comfortable, less concerned, and start to grow and develop the business in order to where we are now, which is, say, 47, 48.
Yeah, you've done some work there, haven't you, in the last few years?
Yeah.
So do you just approach the shopping centres and...
Sort of, yeah. We go to the sort of asset
managers. I can task you to do this without being invasive, really.
Well,
how do you gain another shopping centre?
Well,
Secret handshake.
Yeah, that's what it is. There's lots of those. Yeah. How do I do it? I mostly through asset team. Partly through recommendation, which is great, because the people will say, and I always ask, how did you get our number? And it'll be, I spoke to so-and-so, because we work quite differently. So we have people that are going out and physically meeting. The industry doesn't do that. They tend to work in an office based somewhere, and they do everything on the phone, and that's mostly fill out a license, pay your bill. Yeah. We do a lot more than that. So we tend to work quite different, but I spend so much more money than the rest of them on the business. But I think it gives you the right company. We work doing it in the right way. We're looking after our traders, our retailers, our shopping centres in the right way. And as such, we've been able to grow accordingly. So it's been quite an interesting journey, but brilliant fun. We love it.
Definitely more personal. Definitely. Because when I was interviewing those guys, they had nothing but praise about Flourish, and the area managers coming to see them, checking out, see how they're getting on, and all that. No, it's brilliant, really good.
The relationships between the team and the centres and the traders are critical. I mean, that's the bit that's, and if there are small businesses out there, and that's why I lean into the thing that I'm not really particularly on paper geared up to be running a company, let alone one that's growing in the way that we are. And yet all you have to have is a really good idea, a bit of passion behind it, and we can do the rest.
Absolutely.
We can help you with the structure, we can give you the infrastructure to get up and get going. You just need that. And it's interesting how many people will just not take that leap of faith. And you've got to, what I've learned over the last 10 years, you've got to go with your gut feel. If you think something's right, it probably is. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't, at least you tried it and you've fallen on your own sword, not one based on someone else's opinion.
Have you had any that you've that didn't work out?
We've lost. No, we haven't. We've never lost a contract, but there's some things we haven't got. But they're predominantly based on fee because I charge more than the others, and I'm comfortable in doing that because of the work we do. They'll say, "Well, can you do it cheaper?" And I have to say no. I just say, "No, we're not doing it. If you want it done right, this is what it's going to cost." So I sort of take a view that they can't afford us, and there are always cheaper things in the market.
So when you say they can't afford us, is this the shopping centres themselves or the people having a stall?
Yeah. No, well, it can be both. I mean, I'm leaning more towards the owners of the properties that will look at property and say, look, this is what we think we generate. These are our fees.
Yeah,
and they'll say, oh, how do we get it cheaper? Which I understand the game, but we explain we work this way. We work hard and we'll deliver results. So we'll put more money in your pocket. Do you want that? Or we can talk percentages. But we do have situations with traders on the mail where either it doesn't work, and we'll work with them on that, and we might do something with their rent occasionally to try and make it easier. But every so often, we'll get, because we have a centre, for example, in High Cross in Leicester, which is a much more expensive centre. So, I'm going to frighten you with numbers here, but I mean, you could be paying anything between 35 and 55,000 a year for a kiosk on the mail there. Whereas down here, you could be anything between 10 and 20 maybe, something like that. So there's no real comparison, or even less occasion.
Well, Blue Water's through the roof, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be similar money.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes more, and it's all driven. There's no real clarity in pattern, so that there's no one saying, well, this is the book and how you should apply it. Where we talk to people, if we think the offer is right, we'll do whatever we can in order to get that in and get it working, because day one it may do this, but as time grows it will develop, and then you can increase rent. But it's a shared journey, opposed to I'm just selling you space, get in, I want to fill my money with profit.
And that's the old school way.
It is, yeah. I mean, you've got to add value. I mean, I was telling this to my son's just started up his own company, and I was explaining everything. And I was telling my team about this week. My job's all about servitude. All I do is do things for others. That's how a business is run. Because you're not going to give me, or you're not going to give me any money unless I add value.
Absolutely.
So you'll buy a coffee because you want it, you like it, and it adds value.
Yeah.
In the same way that we need to add value to them, we need to bring them in, look after them. We might have to do a rent free. Who knows what we do? But we don't use, a bit like rate cards we call them. So just a list saying this space is 500 quid, and that's it. We'll talk. We'll have a conversation. We'll say, okay, well, that's the business. Your net position is going to be different on mobile phone accessories. That's hundreds of percent of versus someone who mixes stuff in the basement of a house who doesn't necessarily make the same margin. So we try and make it fit according to the type of business that we're faced with.
Sorry, if anyone can hear that banging, there's nothing I can do about that.
That's my hip.
I think it's Tony next door, who's a really good photographer, by the way. I see him in overalls a couple of days ago.
He's having a bad day.
He's working on something next door. I'm going to give him a right bollock.
You might need to just check on him. If he's a photographer banging,
something's gone wrong.
There's something.
There's a hairdresser's next door, and that's like his stepdaughter-y type person's hairdresser. So, and I see
either way, if they're banging heads or I don't know what they're doing. But
anyway, he went to say hello to me as I was meeting a guest, and I went, sorry, Tanner, can't speak. took her away. We interviewed her here, and I haven't spoke to him since. So I've been meaning to apologise to him about that, and now I'm going to bollock him over banging. So sorry about that.
No, it's the sandwich, isn't it?
But it's a bit like us, really. We say to people, these are our basic packages as such, but if it's something that they want tailor-made, then of course we're going to do that. We're never going to say no to them. And if it's like, if someone says, right, I've got this, but I want this, this and this, or I want night shots, or I want fireworks or something like that, we're going to say, okay, we'll just add that to the package and then sort of tailor-make it to suit them.
The only problem we have when it comes to a wedding, at least, is like they say, we'd like you there for the ceremony, but then we don't really need you there while we're eating. And we're going to do some speeches a lot later on, so if you could come back. Yeah, I travel all the way.
Have a break.
I travel all the way to Watford to come home, come back.
Put you on the singles table in the corner. With the kids.
Exactly. Yeah, so they think they can get used like twice in one day. You just got to pay for the day. unfortunately.
And you've got to, and you'll be comfortable with your price position as long as it's fair and reasonable and you can justify it.
Yeah.
But everyone wants cheaper. I get that. The reality is that I think in the world now we've suppressed prices to a point. It's like where people now say, "Oh, Primark's become much more expensive." Well, yeah, it will do because the price of economics of moving things around the world and producing things has gone up.
Yeah.
The world hasn't changed. Sorry, the world's changed a lot over the last 10 years, or 5 years in terms of costs. So,
and you've got
we don't
brands
like
Shein that are, what do they call it? It's like quick fashion, isn't it? They say it's really disposable and it's so quick that you can literally buy it. It's there. If you don't like it, you chuck it out or recycle it or something like that.
Yeah,
So
those kids know how to sew, don't they? Hey?
Especially with those brands nowadays coming in. Of course, Primark's going to...
It's right though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those kids know how to sew.
I mean, upcycling now quite big.
Yes.
So you're finding people now are taking those clothes that we were going to chuck, and then they're reselling them in various. So that's become a thing. And
is it vintage? Is that right?
Yeah, it's vintage. Yeah, but we've had people come in the centres actually doing it, and we have like reclaimed wood furniture and things like that. So there's a lot of that going, and there's a real market for that. But it tends to be probably the price it was as new, but people like the idea of buying into the concept of something for the environment. So,
my son's girlfriend, she upcycles like jeans into bags. She turns jeans into bags and stuff like that. She'd get to see you really, put a stall out for her.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Is there any that you sort of think, oh my God, like any that you really remember, like any traders that are out there that you think, oh my God, that's an amazing idea? And you think,
is any ideas blown you right away? Like I've never thought of that.
One sort of sticks in your head.
I've had some strange ones. I mean, we used to run a centre in Fareham in Hampshire 7 or 8 years ago, and the strangest one I had there was a woman promoting pole dancing. And
but that's usually fitness, though, isn't it?
Well, you'd say that, and it was that was the premise. And we did check it with, and we check everything with the centre before. Anyway, so she comes in with her pole in the mouth. No one could find security because they were there in that one section. So it's we got things kicking off in next, and no, we're tied up. So that's probably more one of the odd
funny
things.
about it, because these balloons were made by someone that does wedding balloons, but she's also a pole fitness dancer, and that's how we met her first, because we used to go to this fitness centre where they did boxercise and everything like that, but they also did pole dancing and weird sort of anti-gravity stuff where you use a hammock. It's quite a good upper body thing.
Yeah.
I used to do that. I loved it, but I also liked it because the pole dancing was going on at the same night. But we said to her...
So he had mirrors, she had mirrors all around the studio, so he would just sort of sit there
essentially,
and be like...
he's just in a swing watching pole dancing. So let's call it what it is.
The thing is, I knew these girls way before I used to joke about it, before I used to get... Because we used to do this boxercise, so I knew these girls, and they knew me anyway, so it wasn't an uncomfortable thing. But I used to say... All right, you're doing pole fitness, but why are you all wearing skimpy stuff still, like pole dancers? And there is a reason. There is a reason. And there we go, Paul.
What was that?
I don't know.
Look at that.
That wasn't too bad.
It's another one I've got to check. They're all getting close.
20 minutes.
The nearest is 3 seconds.
I don't think I'm quite there. That is pretty.
I'm maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
No, you're not far out.
not far
There's a 3 now that I've got to properly measure to make sure they're not.
Yeah, going back to the pole dance, it is because they need their skin to stick to the pole. So if you've got leggings on or if you've got anything like that, it just slides off the pole and you can't get the grip.
What about a Velcro pole?
Oh, there. I thought.
I'm not sure. I'll just take your word for it. I don't know. Possibly.
So she was in the centre, like
in the middle of the centre.
Demonstrations.
Well, sort of. Yeah, I wasn't there. She did it on a weekend, and she
drive up quick enough.
There's no car quick enough. But she'd sold out within a day. So she booked the weekend, sold out within a day, and never. I don't think she'll ever come back again. But that's probably the more strange thing. But people will come to us with all. I mean, oud is now growing as a product.
Sorry,
oud perfume. So oud perfume is like it's like not so you got perfume, and oud is like an incredibly strong version. You'll find it in Blue Water, and it's usually a couple of £100. But there's now other companies.
So is that the brand name?
No, oud is the type of product it is,
style,
the type of perfume it is.
It's like double concentrated type thing.
It's kind of like but it's a Middle Eastern
like squash.
Exactly. It's exactly like squash. You water it down, spray it on. Bob's your uncle. Yeah. Just have to get the formula right. So that's quite big. Bubble tea is a thing, but there's nothing
bubble
massive.
Tea. I tried that.
It's not for everyone.
It was all right when I started, but then I was annoyed with it by the end of it.
Annoyed with the tea.
Just the bubble with stuff in your mouth, it's like you're eating tadpoles.
I've never
the
tried.
tapioca. Yeah.
Oh, am I getting it wrong?
No, it is that.
No, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
like the jelly.
It is.
ball.
Yeah. They're like little balls of
Yeah.
flavoured.
So see the kids all drink it. The kids go around and the kids drink.
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
love
what
it.
is this?
Yeah, it's probably I mean that went really big. It's starting to contract. You tend to find most ideas that will come out.
Don't worry, they sprinkle
they're
Lotus
big.
biscuits over it like everyone else does these days.
Put out a cigarette in it, whatever it might be, and
That's Lotus biscuits sort everything out now, doesn't it? They just sprinkle Lotus biscuits over it.
Yeah,
no matter what it is, steak.
Whisk it up.
I might try sprinkling Lotus biscuits on you.
Spice me up a bit.
Let's see what happens. More than the steak.
Right, so 7 years, Flourish, roughly. I'm thinking.
So
17, you said, didn't you?
No, 19. Well, 19 really when we took on our first centre. So we're about 5 years, 2 of which really was eaten up by COVID.
Okay.
So we're relatively young.
So anything that you, looking back, you would have done differently?
What challenges? And stuff like that?
I'm not sure.
Actually, you're going up like that, so I don't think there is.
But I don't think that's always. I always that's a byproduct. Your success is a byproduct of other stuff. So I guess I don't know. I'm quite inquisitive, so I'll do stuff. So I've invested in systems probably earlier than I should. I've invested in more people earlier than I should have because I always want to think, well, when we're bigger, I want to be able to cope.
Yeah,
I'm always take a view. I've had a view that you know. This is a strange thing. I've had it ever since my days in retail that today's got to be easier in order for tomorrow to be possible. Because otherwise, in my head, I've peaked. If today's impossible, I'm stuffed.
and you'll be amazed how many people work the other way.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Never enough. Your employees are getting stressed because they're doing work for two.
Yeah,
You know,
we can't be doing, and
then you lose them.
You lose them, and also you lose your clients because they're not productive and they're not delivering. So, but I have a very clear model of how much someone can do, and we're always under it. So we've got the ability to take on more work. So we invest in that systems, call systems. I invest in stuff. I've taken the team away, and we've had a really nice location because I think it's important you invest in the staff. When you expect a lot of them, but I expect them to deliver, and I expect them to be on the phone when they need to be and deliver the results and hit the sales and the targets that are set. So, but I don't think so. I suppose. I mean, when I got that, the funny story about getting with Flourish is that I had investors at the start. I was working with a couple of other guys who, in January 20, so we'd started to get moving.
Okay.
And in January 20, said to me, we think we're going to pull out. We've got some other things we've got to deal with. And he said, right, so we've got 2 options. We'll either give you some money, and you go off and do your own thing, or you can have the company. And just as if I had Tourette's, I said, I'll take the company.
Oh.
And I went, and he went, go. And he was, as fair to him, he said, that's great. I'm pleased you did that. I thought there would be and as I was walking home, and I'd only just moved here, so new mortgage, after my divorce a couple of years ago, another podcast, I'm sure.
Right.
So
I can help you with a divorce podcast. Yeah.
oh God. So just moved in down the road, and then got the news that that they were pulling out, and I called Nell, which is now my wife now, and said, right. So anyway, they've pulled out. We've got they're pulling that. I'm not going to earn any more money, but they've given me the company. And she said, oh, that's great news. I said, no, we've got no more money coming in. There's the no more money.
Literally
from that moment. And she said, but you've got the company. I said, yeah. She said, well, and fair to her, she said, well, I'll support you. And 2, this is what you're always meant to do.
Oh,
Right.
So from that, I was like,
yeah.
Day 2, I'm like, right, I'm now got to do something with this. And it was funny. I was listening to a podcast with Gary Vee and a guy called Jesse Itzler, is an entrepreneur. Anyway, and it was talking about his journey and how he pivoted and how he dealt with it. And anyway, and it just certain things just clicked. And I thought, okay, I've got this. And from there, and then we hit COVID. So I just used COVID as a period to just decompress, because I just saw everything stopped. We've all gone to zero. So that was the advantage, I thought, because I was already at minus, because I'd inherited a company with significant debt. And but I thought, okay, so we're all at zero now, sort of debt. And I can now look to how I develop and grow the business. And that's what I spent those
It's almost
next
like
year.
a redesign, rebrand,
like a complete reset.
Reset
Reset of how we do it. And I could do things as I want to do it. I no longer had partners. With respect to them, when you're on your own, you can do stuff quicker, faster.
I think I would struggle with partners, because I'm quite
think-
fixed
I
on
wouldn't
what
do
I
it
want
again.
sometimes.
With a partner, I think you have to have the majority of the share so that you can
Have the final say.
I think. So if you do have partners, I think you should never give 50-50 because you always then have to say, what do you think about this? You should always have that upper hand and say, right, okay, I've taken your opinions on board, but this is how we're going to go forward, because then you are still the one in control of the whole company.
Absolutely.
So that's how I think.
And it's always said singularity and leadership is key in any company. So even though I will bounce things by the team, I started using this a phone answering service, but it's a really good one, quite expensive, because it almost seems seamless when you ring it. And the team were like, oh no, we don't need that. And within the first month, it turned out they were dropping something like 80 calls.
Wow.
So which they wouldn't know. So instinct, sometimes you've got to go, yeah, but instinct tells me that we should do this. So that's what we did. So from there, I just lived off my instinct and just started to do things as I thought they should be done. And as such, I've taken on some recently. Do we need them now? Probably not. But it's without question the right thing to do, because that'll allow us to expand and grow. Unless I think I've peaked, which I can't think that, because then
Wasn't the pole dancer you took on, was it?
It was. I think you know it. You saw it when you were on the on your swing. Yeah. You remember her. Lovely lady.
I haven't been on that swing for about 4 years.
She'll get onto you though.
Yeah,
She will, yeah. She always says, you've got to come back, Simon. She always does.
Oh, bless her. Oh, yeah. But but it's been an interesting journey. But I've learned a hell of a lot over the last, I don't know, I've learned all through my career. I managed to run retail, I mentioned that, in theme parks for about 4 years.
Oh, no, you haven't.
Really?
No, let's talk about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, hello.
Let's talk about
that
the
theme.
theme
You talk about theme park.
park.
Everyone loves a theme park. Yeah. So I ran the retail on both in Legoland in Windsor.
Oh, right, yeah.
And at Thorpe Park in Windsor.
Oh, right, okay.
In Staines, wherever it's Chertsey. And so that was really good. So from there, opposed to running it, when you run a shop, broadly, you run a manual really well. They give you a manual, say, just do that stuff.
Follow that,
you follow the plan we've told you, and that's a good...
Maybe a little bit here and there,
but not too much. But don't get too creative, sunshine. You'll be out in your ear. Whereas in the theme parks, when I walked in, they said, right, so you are now the most experienced retailer we've got, which was interesting. Okay. And we were doing everything from store design to buying product. And I mean, if you take like
Anything
Lego.
that you've done that can stand out with Lego, because I had been to Legoland many a time.
Lovely.
Oh God, Lego.
Yeah, because I've got 5 children, so I have been to Lego.
Well, I tell well,
what is unique about it? It's built on a hill, isn't it?
yeah.
And it kills your legs,
and the hill really is the wrong way around. You want it,
at the bottom.
Yeah, you want it to go up.
You want it. You think energy at the beginning I can do, energy at the end not so much. So I don't know. Any secrets in Legoland? I mean,
Anything that I would notice that you've done.
oh God, probably not now. I mean, I've been out of there for 20 years.
Oh right, blimey.
So
Okay.
so no, if there's anything there, they've probably repaired it. So probably not. But we've, I mean, the main shop turns over something like 4.5 million, and it does it in a very short window.
one
of
by
time.
the exit.
The one by the exit.
That's
yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah. And
But over,
maybe
like,
more
what
now.
time period is that?
Very short. So it's between 4:30 and 7, I think it was back then.
Oh, per day.
Keeping in mind it's shut from
right.
March to November.
Yeah.
So the window of
yeah.
time is very narrow. So it's between 4 and 7, and predominantly in peak season, which is in July to the summer holiday period.
Yeah.
So it's something like I think when we calculated it was faster level of transaction than some of the biggest shops in Oxford Street at that particular time.
Right.
So we had all sorts of things going. We had people going in the queues with sweets and all sorts of things to keep people
You
engaged.
just got to keep it going.
To keep it going, yeah. But then we came up with this a brain moment. I don't know whatever that is. We had a moment with our brains, with the collective brain.
Brainwave?
We spent time with the brain, and the brain said,
Is that you all just sort of touch it? You know?
"No, you don't touch the brain. You don't touch the brain." Oh my God, you wouldn't last a day.
Never touch the brain.
How does he not know this? Oh, the poor brain. Yeah, it's sticky.
Oh, that's where they put Star Wars now. That bit. It's in there. The brain was in there.
The brain came up with that. So the brain said that we were going to. I keep hitting this.
I know you do. It's going through my ears.
Good. So we decided. We used to buy all our stuff from Billand, and we worked out there was a load of stuff going cheap. One of which was this, and it was an R2D2 kit, which was, I don't know what it cost, but we were selling them for 50 quid. And so we decided to...
So you're saying 20 years ago, they had Star Wars back then, Lego?
We had the Harry Potter stuff was huge. Again, used an instinct.
Sorry, we're digressing again, but we'll get back. Go on,
yeah, 50 quid. Yeah, it was 50 quid. But that wasn't the most expensive. The most expensive stuff was Harry Potter at the time. So we bought a load of the castles in.
Because 20 years isn't that long ago, is it, in my brain?
That's just longer. So I was there 2000, 2001.
Right. Yeah,
so it was a long time ago. So these Harry Potter castles, we were told about them, and of course it wasn't so big then. It was biggish. And I said to the they were like, "Oh, how many should we buy?" I said, "Oh, just buy like 4 pallets of them." And they were like, "Oh, that's a lot of." And I was, I just anyway, it was we sold out of those. We had people. And to keep in mind, we were selling these at Christmas when the car park is shut. So we'd open up the front of the park, and people would come in and buy just that castle. And we had them at 80 quid, and we sold virtually the whole lot. And then we were like, right, we've still got a pallet now of these things. Staff started buying them. So we cut that off. And I said, no more of that. And but people were selling these online for like 100, 200, 300 quid. Yeah, you couldn't get them.
With the Lego.
Yeah, with the Lego. This Harry Potter castle. Yeah. So
they're 400 quid. Hogwarts
it's
is
nuts.
400 quid.
Yeah.
Lego's through the roof.
Oh yeah, but in those days, it was as a brand, it was struggling because its demographic was shrinking. Between it used to be quite broad, and it was shrinking smaller and smaller, and then the licensing became a big thing. But they were in this sort of conflict because they pay a lot more with licensing, but
once they introduced movies and things like that.
That was just coming out as I was there. Yeah. But we used to have this tent at the front that we used to just pile a load of cheap stuff up. And then, so you imagine you've now spent all your money on your kids in the big shopping. We're done now. We've done it. We've done our job. We've done our job as parents. And then you see this tent with sale, and you're like, where did that come from? And so that little tent would do annually about 500,000.
Wow.
So this little tent, bizarre, and it was awful. I mean, we bought the tent on some website. And everything was just on pallets, so we just stuck a member of staff in there with a bum bag selling this stuff. Yeah, it was nuts.
It was like a Sunday market kind of thing.
But without the finesse. It was truly awful. But we sold loads of stuff there. And but the great thing about that working environment back then, I think it's changed a lot now. I would hope, is that we were able just to do stuff. We were able just to come up with ideas and bring things in and go, that's a great idea. Let's have a crack at it. And so today. I try and run this business the same way. So if the team come up with an idea, genuinely, unless they're lighting curtains in a room, genuinely, let's have a go at it. Let's see what happens.
You'd have to do a risk assessment and method statement just for putting a stall out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If it's just lighting stuff, or cock holes or something like that. But if it's just an interesting idea, let's just have a go at it. And as long as the centre team get it and we've done the appropriate risk assessments for whatever it might be, then we'll just do it. And if it doesn't work. And again, it's just as a particular approach. I won't dwell on it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We don't go banging someone over the head for it because they've had a go.
You don't penalise them for an idea. Otherwise, they won't come back to you again with different ideas.
Well, they won't.
If one doesn't work,
fearful.
Then and you have a go at them, then they're just going to say no thanks.
And that's the world we're in now. Is I think the problem is there's such a lack of innovation and risk because everyone's frightened of getting things wrong or being pointed at. And sometimes you've got to have some comfort with dropping a ball and then go, that didn't work, so I'm going to try something else.
What I can learn from this is take that away.
I won't do that again.
Exactly.
I won't light it, and I'll move on to this. But I think that's the problem. Part of the problem in the world, I think, is we're not willing to take a risk. We're so risk averse, and our industry, property, is incredibly risk averse. So we're trying to say, we're innovative. I would say to them that everyone wants to be innovators, but no one wants to be first. So someone has to take the leap, and then they're all innovators. Yeah. We're all innovators. We've all come. No, you're not, and because all they talk about is the stuff that's been done. Yeah. So we're now launching. So we're now looking at doing things where I've been told not to call it a mentoring scheme because they said it doesn't sound cool enough. But broadly, we've identified a business that we've worked with, young guys, had a business a couple of years, and we're gonna, and I'm sponsoring to help grow and develop the business. And I have no skin in the game at all. I have no interest in it. He makes it work. He then goes off and does it. But I'm putting money into it because I want to see if it works. Right. Because I'm just curiosity. Because I think there's a from running stores and retail for a number of years. I think I know what needs to be done in order to get him right. Right. And I've got other companies I work with supporting it. Marketing companies helping doing their website and going to get their online presence improved, and another one's going to help them with their business structure, which is not, and that stuff is the stuff I don't like to do.
So can someone find you and do this themselves, or do you go and find these?
Well, they just happened to fit it. We've not really launched it as a thing. It was just an idea I had in the shower. I have a lot of ideas in the shower.
Wasn't touching the brain then?
No, it's not that though. I don't know where we go with that.
No,
There's an edit. There's an edit.
I don't mean that. I was being really sensible because you're all touching the brain not in the shower touching the brain.
Anyway,
I meant the Legoland brain. I was back to the Legoland.
What's the time? I'll make a note of it.
I'm staying in.
so anyway, so I'm in the shower on my own.
Touching the brain.
Oh my God, where did that come in?
That's your walk to mine.
Something blue for the dads. So yeah, where were we going there? So I had an idea about developing and helping small business, and because I think that in itself can be a thing, and where we've got these innovation hubs popping up, I think they have the idea, but they haven't the skill set to actually turn small business ideas into working, practicing businesses. And I think that's where there's opportunities. So I think we can take this guy from an idea to doing stuff with us to taking a shop. And I think we can take that whole journey because I think we can handhold them through the whole process and make sure they don't lose their shirt on the shop, make sure they get the right deal. And then that will be a case study. And I think that in itself will become a thing in itself.
So you're like almost like an advisor for him as such to say, maybe don't do this, do it this way, or would you get involved in that as almost in depth with him, or will you just suggest things to him and then let him make the decisions himself, or how would that work?
I think he has to determine what it is. It's his brand, his business, his idea. So I want to be able to direct it. So it's more pointing than saying don't do that, because I think he's got to be able to. He's going to have to try if he wants to do something, unless it's again horrific. It will generally say, "Well, have a go at it. See where it goes. Try this." But he's a smart kid, so I don't think we'll have that particular. I think he just needs support in the infrastructure and the setup of the business in order to make it work. I think the rest of the stuff in access to space we can help him with. I think if we get him into a shop, suddenly we've got something that no one's done in our industry. And I like the idea of doing stuff that no one's been able to do. And then we sort of lead that then as a particular product.
Absolutely.
But he's got the right attitude, right approach. We've just now got to, and as I was saying to him the other day, is that he's again about servitude. He's got to look at adding value. Everything's about adding value. If his products don't add value, it's not going to work. So that's his bit. We can help with the rest of it. If he does the design, the vision, he knows what he's doing. He just needs a bit of help, and I think he's a perfect candidate to really get this concept working.
So you are obviously advising and helping these people. Did you ever have anyone like that growing up that you could sort of turn around and talk to and say
every time he takes a switch?
Right, it's cold now, so I'm going to leave it.
So did you have anyone that you had like that for you, or is that where you found this little niche in the market that you can actually be there for them?
I think anyone who thinks that they're self-made is lying. I think everyone has had support and help through their work career. Probably for me, I'd say go back to probably my days in Halfords. I had a guy called Bob. It was Bob Mitchell then. He's an older guy now, so now he's Robert Mitchell. And he spent quite a lot of time with me on the importance of business planning in terms of the psychology of people and staff to a greater or lesser degree. Path of least resistance was one of his things, and he really, I guess, took me under the wing when the company actually wasn't that interested in me. When I got that job through default. I mean, this is the story of my life, isn't it? But I did an assessment centre. Now, do you ever do an assessment centre when you were ever going for a job where you had to sit in a room and do things like grain analysis and for a job that had nothing to do with any of this stuff?
Oh, I see.
And mathematics
like
and
a test of where they would put you or what job
no,
best
it was
suited you,
a total irrelevant. It will be grammar, it will be maths, it will be algebra, it will be graphs. Where on the graph? It was stuff that my brain just does that, just switches off. I look at it and it's just a pile of paper.
So they would test you and then what?
It wouldn't be anything to do with the job.
I mean, it had nothing to do with the job. And then at the end of it, they would say, yeah, you've passed or you failed, based on presuming my maths and my English or whatever it might be, which is
always my English that I failed on. I've lost jobs to Italians before, and because he beat me on the English.
That's great. That's
cut you deep.
That's a bit.
And he was my mate, so he gave me stick for years.
And rightfully so. Yeah. I can't say. I don't think I ever got any. I didn't even go back for my GCEs back then when I was doing them. I didn't go back for them because I knew they would just be horrific, and I didn't care. I think ultimately, I got a job saying, they'll be good. I'll be good. There we go. And I never spoke of them again. But yeah, I think it's Robert or Bob. It was a big influence for me in those early days. Really supported me, even after an assessment centre, which I failed abysmally. So much so they said he hasn't got the job, and I reminded them they'd already offered me the job, and they had to take me on by default. And the area manager, I don't know if he's around anymore, Phil Bastian, he used to be quite an intimidating character, would talk to you here,
right,
like here,
yeah,
and would do it with everybody, not just me, everybody, and really did not want me there. And then out of the blue, I used to run the bike department after migrating from my bike shop. They got an email or a letter. My apologies, there were no email. A letter from a carrier pigeon came in with a letter from an area manager who was over the moon with the service of the department, and overnight they liked me. But in that time, Bob, as he was then, was supporting me through, just giving me guidance. He was my first area manager. It was a massive influence for me back then. And there's been other people that in Lego and so on and so forth, but probably the more in my developing years as a retailer and as a manager, he was probably the one that I would say was the one that's been, and I see him every so probably not as much as I should. But I'm still in touch with him. He's now director in a
still doing the pedals on.
He's hating me. Yeah. He's good. Yeah, he's based in New Malden, and I actually know he works in Brent every day. I don't know he does that, but really good guy. We've all got people on the way, even if we don't always sometimes recognise it. Like my wife now was incredibly important in terms of me starting this company up and supporting me through this.
She's an entrepreneur herself, isn't she?
Yeah.
Was she before you met her?
Yes, she was. Yeah.
I'm not trying to say, is it all down to you?
No, it's pretty much down to her. Yeah. She was. Yeah, she's been running businesses since 2010 or something. I think she's had her first beauty salon, so she's been doing it for a number of years. But she's just incredibly calm about it. She has no fear of anything. It doesn't matter what you'd be like, for the love of God. And
theory, it doesn't matter what you're selling as long as you use a certain process.
Yes,
it?
Yeah. She's not great at that either. So that's where I'm probably quite helpful. So I'll get a letter. So I'll help with that sort of stuff. But we're a good team from that point of view. So she's very enabling, allows me to sort of enjoy things in life, but really supports the business, and did early days. So, she was incredibly important. But there's been loads of people throughout my working career that have been really good and helpful. But ultimately, at some point, you've got to do the work. You've got to get, dust your hands off and get on and do it. And I've always had a fairly big work ethic. That's the only
way that you would know the business, right? If you don't get your hands dirty, how are you then ever meant to sell it well? How are you ever meant to market it well? How are you ever meant to be proud of it yourself as such? So, and
you've got to enjoy it. You've got to love it. I still enjoy I still enjoy talking to traders. I still meet with the clients on a regular. I enjoy it, and they probably wonder what's wrong with me because I'm still quite enthusiastic about picking up new business and developing new businesses that we work with or coming up with it. I love it. I really enjoy it. There's no. I don't have that Monday feeling like many do, and I don't. And even if I'm away, I'm working. I'll have my laptop, I'll have my phone. I'll never not have I don't care.
That was going to be my next question, because obviously you and your wife are really busy. How do you actually stop and say, right, okay, enough's enough, we've got to have a holiday or personal time, or how do you distinguish between work and relaxation? And clearly you don't.
Not really. No, I mean we don't do as much, but I'm quite a morning person. So like this morning I was up at. I wake up this morning 5. I get up at 5. I go to the gym for an hour, and then I get ready to take her to work. And then I come back. So I'm and I'll work in between that. So I'll go into I'll get my emails done. I'll get anything that's critical sorted out. But I'll always be on the phone. But I don't really see it. I'll take calls, or doesn't feel like work. Even when I'm away, I always view it. I'm now working in a lovely location, is what I'm doing. So I don't see it as a particular chore. I mean, sometimes you have to do Zoom calls and things like that. I remember I was doing one with some clients we work with now, and I thought, we go up and get ready. And I don't really get ready. I've got this shirt that I stick on that's in the wardrobe. And I've got, shorts.
What did you mean for the Zoom call?
Yeah.
For the Zoom, yeah.
To a point, and they said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm in Egypt." And I said, "I bet he's not got I bet it isn't under there what we think it is. Just you go stand up and say, no,
Come on.
I'm not doing it. I don't want to leave you with that being the last impression, because we hadn't yet got the gig. So, but that's probably the extreme of it. But I'll take calls anywhere, and when I'm out and about, and my team are the same. My team will wander around with business cards and be offering them out, and they'll say, I'm out in shopping with my other half, and I've given out 10 of my business cards to people. They're just equally nuts, I suppose. So, and we're all, none of us are young. I don't know how to put it. All but one are in their 50s, and some later than others. Gemma's the youngest one. She's 31, but she's like the honorary elderly lady within the group. But they're all incredibly passionate about what they do, and that's why when we go away and we do meetings, we pick nice locations and things, but they work hard, and then, I mean, I won't touch that. Wood. That's not wood, is it?
It probably is underneath.
There's wood there somewhere. They're never sick. They've never been sick, and even if when you hear them coughing, you can hear them typing away when you're talking to them. They just have a particular work ethic that is just you just don't see. And so, where perhaps I think the broader market has missed people in their 50s and thought, well, we don't want to take them on, because actually they've missed. I think they're missing a whole trick of people with life experience, resilience, and a work ethic that's just almost unmatched. And Gemma aside, who has the same approach, you tend not to have that. So I've been very fortunate. So we all have this love for the job, and certainly when we did our team meeting this week, for example, we they were all just expressing how they enjoy what they do on a typical day, and talked about obstacles and challenges and work together. But it's such a teamwork, and there's no suppressing of one to improve another. And I'm so involved in it. Every week we'll do a call, we'll go through everything. So I'm still really just hands-on involved in the business. I still enjoy it. I think I'm still a shopkeeper, I think is the thing. I've never let it go.
So you're very good at sales and the pitching and everything like that. How do you deal with like the disappointment if you don't get it, or not the failures, because it isn't a failure? How do you deal with that side of it? Sort of like the rejection.
Someone's stall that just hasn't hit off. And
well,
do they try and blame you sometimes?
Sometimes. We're not us. They sometimes blame, say the centre isn't as busy, and
it's usually the people walking past.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all look out instead of inwards to why the problem might exist.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's quite a typical trait. But I think personally, when we don't get, say, if we don't get a contract, for example, I'll be pretty pissed for a day, but then following day I just go, right, now where am I going next? And so I think it's important to acknowledge the failure itself, and again try and understand why. And if it's purely on fees, I'm okay with that. I'm still a bit pissed off, but I'm okay with it. And then I'm just looking at what's next. And if we have something that comes in that doesn't work, I do feel a bit of responsibility, because we bring people in with a view to succeed. We have what's called, trying to use too many buzzwords, an occupancy level. So if there's 10 days in a week and they're in 9 days, it's a 90% occupancy. So we have a very high, people come, they stay. We look after them when they stay. And in turn, they pay longer, and therefore we make more money. And that's kind of how the method works. So if you have someone who doesn't work out or fails or falls over, you do take it. But again, as long as we understand why. So if it's someone generally, you'll go in and you'll say, actually, so we had not long ago a cake stall in one of our centres, and they were putting in certain ingredients like Cadbury's and things. And I said, well, actually, just use some brands, because people recognise the brand and you can use that. And they didn't do any of this, and they weren't opening on time. They had no depth of product, all this stuff that psychologically is important when you're buying products, because no one buys the last biscuit on the shelf, and they couldn't quite get their head around this. So that you'll have those, as long as they know and understand, and there's something to take from it, then we can move on from it. But equally with the team, as I was saying to them, it's that old saying, isn't it? Good enough is not good enough. It could be better. So, and nothing's ever perfect. You should always be able to look at something and go, I can do that differently. So as long as we're always pushing forward, always looking to do things better, and that being the objective, you can't go too far wrong. And generally, using the old Nike thing, if you do things to the highest quality, you'll make money by nearly automatically. And it's taking that approach that you're always trying to make that business, the way in which we work, the way we propose to our clients, the best it can be. And that's as good as it gets. And it won't. And what it will be next week won't be this week. My team gets a bit sometimes frustrated because I talk about how we do things, and say, "Oh, someone will come in and just copy what we do." And I always say that it's a bit like the Jamie Oliver book thing. I'd say it's a bit like me buying. Are you a cook?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's say I buy you one. I'm not going to. But let's say I buy you a book, and you've got everything there. You've got the ingredients. You've got the timing, and yet, despite all that, it won't be like Jamie Oliver.
No.
Right. Yeah.
There is a nuance. There is something that makes it you or makes it Jamie, and it's the same with this. And I think it's partly there are things that and I don't know what I'm going to do. I might have another shower on my own, where I'm thinking of I don't want to do that. So. A shower. We're going
already drying yourself, bud.
Yeah, I'm already out of the shower thinking. I'll come up with some other idea where I'll say to him, I've just thought of something, or I'm going to do this. So I don't know where. And I think
do they make a joke of it? Do they? Oh no, he's come back with another idea.
He's come up with another idea.
Do they give you a stick over?
They're
it?
weirdly embracing of my madness.
Okay.
I don't throw too much at it. I mean, I'll have thought it through. I'll have talked to a few people about it. Say, what do you think about doing this? They say, it's all right. I see how that works. Okay, well, I'm going to have a give it a go. So a bit like the supporting thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a cost implication. There's no immediate cash return on it. But I think it's something as a concept that potentially could become a business in itself. And that isn't necessarily the objective. The money thing I always return to is always the byproduct of just doing a good job. So if I focus upon that, the money will come as a result. So I'm not frightened of someone copying. And also my model's too expensive, I think, for the market. It's too expensive for them to run it that way. They would have to give up cash in their bank.
Yeah.
And it's only me that owns the company. So I don't have the issue of having to feed other directors a load of money in order to keep them happy. It's just me on my own, just kind of figuring it out as I go and doing stuff. And so far, it's been okay. So far, we seem to be picking up enough business. The clients are really happy. They're sending me emails saying they're happy with the team that we've got, which is really rare. So we must be doing something right, but it can't end there. We've got to constantly look for how we improve things. And that's the same with anyone who runs a business. They've just constantly, if you're constantly looking to drive things forward, look at people in the industry that do what you do, look at who you admire, steal the good bits.
Yeah.
IKEA had a phrase, steal with pride. Steal the ideas and apply it. There's no shame in doing that. Why reinvent the wheel?
Absolutely.
So it's,
Brilliant.
So where do you see this company going?
I don't know what's going on in
years.
2 weeks. Over the next, I mean, by the end of the year.
What's your plans then? Okay, what is if your main goal, let's say in 5 years, 10 years, what would that be?
Alive is one of them. I don't really have. I think most of my goals are short term. So most of my goals are because I think we've learned over the last few years that things change and move quite quickly. I mean, we have an election coming up and so on. Well, it may have happened by the time you put this out. But nevertheless, they're constant. And there are things that are wholly outside our control. But what I can control, I can determine the things that I'm going after. So my goal is to land 100% of the, which I won't achieve, 100% of the
That's the spirit.
new pictures. Yeah. It's not going to happen. There we go. Ever the optimist is me. No, we are going to land it. That was it. Yeah, I remember that. And then it's looking at developing the model for. But really, so by the end of the year, we should breach 50 centres, which would be a nice landmark. But centres of certain sort of turnover and quality that puts a bit more cash flow back into the business. But that's kind of it, really. I'm just constantly looking at growing and developing the business, the model, just finding inspiration from somewhere and something, and then applying it. But what it looks like in 5 years, I have no idea. 5 years ago, if you told me I was doing this, I would have laughed. So I think short-term goals, unlike when you're starting a new business, like we're running through with this new guy, is we're working on an 18-month plan, working on a turnover figure and working back. So it's a slightly different thing as where I'm not looking at turnover necessarily, I'm looking at growth and development of the business. So hopefully by the end of the year, 50 centres, and then I'll see where we come in 25.
Okay, so you've got there's this bloke called Malcolm, and he sticks, I don't know, shrapnel to flip-flops, and his mum says, you could sell them sort of things, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Why don't you try one of those stalls in the middle of shopping centres? How does he find you?
Was that where you were
That
going
was
with
it,
that?
yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I thought
okay.
you were going to say, but he wants to do this. Right, so just how would he find
How
it?
would
Yeah.
you find this?
How would Malcolm? But if I just said how would Malcolm find you, he's like, well, what's Malcolm sell? Well, like,
Yeah, and what,
sells shrapnel stuck to flip
What
flops.
made him think of that? What's his story?
I don't know. He must have been gathering around this big brain.
It's amazing. There's a few of them, isn't there? It's a few of them.
One of them's in your shower, apparently.
It's we both know it's not.
It sounds like a Doctor Who episode.
It does.
Yeah. But from the 70s.
yeah,
Yeah.
face of bone.
Really crappy.
Yeah, shitty old brain made up.
So how do they find
Yeah,
us?
so basically had.
So
Now that's the other thing. Look,
Okay.
what Malcolm's invented is pretty crap.
right.
Would you,
in your opinion,
exactly, in my opinion, would you look at something? Has someone ever come to you with something, and you've gone, "Oh God, you're not going to be able to sell that"? Would you give them that advice, saying, "I think you'll struggle to sell that"?
yeah. Oh, yeah, we have. So,
So Malcolm's come to you. How does he find you first?
if we go on to thisisflourish.co.uk,
Perfect.
all the contacts are on there. All the shopping centres are on there. 48 of them of which to choose from, and then all the team are on there as well. The people who run those particular schemes.
Is there anything actually on the stalls where they can find that information?
Not on the stalls itself, but in all the shopping
You're
centres
welcome.
we have. Oh, I see where you're going there. Yeah. I know you've rented this store, but do you mind if I advertise on it?
Because
Yeah.
there must be a couple
But
of
we,
empty ones you can put.
We have
Want this
posters.
stall?
We have posters
Yeah,
around the
okay,
centre
yeah.
that they could do it, but you'd have to find them. But either the shopping centres have it, but the easiest way is through the website. Just go through
Right, yeah.
thisisflourish.co.uk and all our contact details are on there. And if there are occasions where we come up against something. So I had one not that long ago where they wanted to sell fresh fish
Oh,
in
right.
the centre, and I was saying, well, I don't think this will work. And it
that'll
was
check
outside a clothing store, so I thought this is really not going to work.
No.
So, although again, learning apparently, if you keep the fish at a certain temperature, they don't smell apparently because the way
Yeah.
a fish smells is to do with
It's
its
the freezing. You've got to keep it at...
So if a fish smells, it's when it's
I thought-
going off.
I thought you meant when you said fresh fish, like fish tanks, like
Oh,
actually
you
alive.
plonker. No, I
They'd be
actually
fine.
thought-
You could do that.
I'm thinking, oh, would someone
You
that
could
would
do
I
that.
actually
smell
thought,
like
no, I
goldfish?
thought food. I thought what he was actually on about.
Definitely
Sorry,
fresh fish.
food,
Yeah, cockles and winkles.
Oh,
So,
right.
so those, so that was but they've had fish in tanks in shopping centres. They used to have the feet.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
weird.
yes.
Yeah, that died a death.
Yeah, well, you still get that in sort of Spain and
You
places
do,
like that,
yeah. Well, it was I think it was one of the newspapers over here had put some
Some sort of health
suggestion,
scare about it,
saying it might. There was
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to back it
No,
up, and it killed the industry overnight.
Yeah.
And a lot of these companies or people had put thousands into that business and
Yes.
killed it. So this is where you don't know where the next week or month will
Absolutely.
take you. But all you can do is pivot. I think, as I say to my son in his new journeys, you've got to have this ability to pivot to things that will make you money or an idea that you can apply. That's what business is around today, and certainly entrepreneurship. Although everyone wants to be one, I always say, well, it's great if you want to be an entrepreneur, but it's long hours and shit pay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's generally it. There are no fast cars, Lears, jets, and that isn't necessarily the way. And it certainly doesn't start that way. But certainly in time, hopefully you're successful. But if you have a good living out of it, you do what you love to do, life is pretty good. Better than turning up to work on a Monday morning
and not
hating it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not enjoying
absolutely.
it. Yeah. Better you enjoy what you do in life. And that's where we all want to be happy, don't we?
Yeah. Retirement isn't guaranteed. You don't know when you're going to pop your clogs. So you
don't.
might as well enjoy your life while you've got it.
Yeah. Don't spend 10 hours a day at a job you
Yeah, you
detest.
hate.
So
Yeah.
go do something you want to do. That's got to be that's just a philosophical, I think, approach to life. I think you want to do what you want in life, not what just simply pay bills. And there's lots of evidence to show that you can get a job, let's say, I don't know, whatever, 100 grand a year, whatever the figure might be in your head, that's an exorbitant amount of money. Within 3 to 6 months, you become conditioned and the money no longer matters. And your expenditure and your lifestyle is already adjusted. So now you're just at work.
Yeah.
So now imagine your job is literally shoveling raw crap day in, day out. The money no longer matters. So if you're doing something you enjoy, for less money, it's generally a better balance. And also people want to contribute to business and all this other stuff. So there's lots of KPIs or measurements that equal, theoretically, people's happiness that go way beyond money. People just attach too much, I think, to the money, purely the money side of it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never put money and success together. Success is having a life that you want. That's the way I see it.
Yeah,
Having the life that you
just
want.
being happy. And there's a difference between value. I think was it Jimmy Kahn, not great, one of the greatest philosophers, but nevertheless said there's.
He's he's clued up guy.
He's very smart.
He's a clued up guy.
And he talks about value and so something of like having a nice car is hard to get, but it's not valuable. What's valuable is the people that are around you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's most important. And that's the thing that will give you balance. And a guy that was a chairman of one of the companies I worked with years ago, about health, wealth, and relationships were the three things in order to maintain a good life. Health is critical because without that you could do nothing. Relationships in terms of family, friends, and ensuring they're the right people around, and then wealth is determined by, I guess, your graft and your work. But and you can survive with any two of those, but never one.
Yeah,
that's very true.
So that was a very an old wise guy who was telling me that one. So I've always sort of
not having the health.
Healthy.
Isn't that great?
No.
If you haven't got that, then you'd
Maybe.
screw.
No,
Yeah.
I suppose, I guess, in a weird way, I guess if you've got people that are facing real health issues, if you've got the relationships, so the health issues,
people can
going
help.
to be, well, it creates a form of balance, not the ideal balance by any stretch, but nevertheless, it will give you something. But if you're now being broke, alone, and sick, that's a pretty bad place to be, and that's perhaps where, where we're seeing, a real crisis, particularly in certain communities of men. Particular, where they're struggling in life because they have a lack of balance in these things, so and a lack of direction, and we're crap at talking, so which doesn't help.
That's very true.
Brilliant.
Yeah, bring that on.
Really enjoyed having you on. Really enjoyed having you on. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No,
just Flourish. This is flourish.co.uk.
This is flourish.co.uk. If people have an idea, if they have something they've been thinking about for a while, or they are somewhere doing something they're not happy and they want to try and develop the model, we'll help. Well, we'll be honest. If we think it's going to work, we'll give them some guidance, some support, and if it's right for the location, we'll figure a way of making it work. And all our centres are very progressive and broad thinkers, so they all want things to work.
Yeah,
we don't want, if things go in and fail, that no one wins. So contact us, drop us a line, and then we'll get back to people. Usually within 48 hours, we'll back people, and if we can come up with an idea, we can have them in a centre within. We have contracts drawn up within a day, so
excellent.
It doesn't take long.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Can I ask one more question?
We go.
Sorry, Flourish. The name Flourish. Where did that come from?
So Flourish.
Another half hour.
So no, it's not really. No, it's actually quite British. So the couple of guys that were investing in the company at the beginning, part of the process when we were developing the company was coming up with a name, and we had some awful names. One of which was Space Invaders, and I stayed.
I really like that.
I stayed quiet up until that point. I was like, just no.
I really like Space Invaders.
It's Space Invaders was one, and it was loads like of similar type and style.
I mean, it's like when they go on The Apprentice and they say, give your name a team, and they come up with like the really randomest names, and you think, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And imagine now you've got 4 people in a room who now have to agree on a name, and then it was a day of, we had a day of it, and it was like no one agreed, and I was just like, oh my God, and I was broken at this point. And then the next day, one of the guys came in and went, I had an idea, maybe in the shower, and he said, Flourish.
Touching the brain.
You got a rating on this one, and everyone went, oh, I quite like that. I went, right, we're going with that then. We're going with it, because my view was it doesn't matter what it's called, the reputation is going to determine the success. It doesn't matter what it is. So I
look at the names these days. I can't even suggest any names, but some names of companies make absolutely no sense to what they do.
No, and yet
like you say, it doesn't matter. You know,
no.
And the fact that they stand out,
with
like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah,
actually helps the branding.
Well, no, I mean, look at ours. Cherrywood doesn't have anything.
It just happened to be a road I lived in when I started the company.
Yeah, and that was it. So it doesn't have anything to do with photography or videography. It's just
and it won't determine you picking up work.
No,
the work will be picked up
we
by,
still
by
won't get anything.
No. Called you
wedding videographer.
IKEA photography. Yeah. But there's some things you can help, and there's some things you just can't. Yeah, you can't polish a turd.
Exactly.
But you can roll it in glitter.
Yeah, exactly.
As they say, you can roll it in glitter.
What was I going to say? Now, this is something we're starting, and you're the first person we're going to ask this to. Well, you're sort of the second, but I stole it.
We just destroyed that. I mean,
no,
you made me feel like I was starting at the beginning. I'm second in the queue.
We had a boxer in recently, and he was on, and he's fighting for the British and Commonwealth title.
Oh, okay.
lovely guy from this
Really
area.
nice.
And he was on a different podcast, and they asked him at the end of the podcast, what's his favourite song? So we stole that idea.
See, like you said, steal the best bits with pride. So this is what we're doing.
And we're happy. So we're going to ask you what your favourite song is, and we're going to put it on a Spotify, a Cherrywood Podcast Spotify playlist.
Favourite song? Oh my God.
A hard one.
Insane with a brain, insane with a membrane.
Wow.
It might be.
Yeah. Well, it's probably not that. Yeah, jump around.
Sum up the podcast with one song. That's what it should be.
Insane with a brain.
I can't think of anything. I listen to so much stuff. I've been to so many podcasts recently.
Are you into music at all?
Yeah. I listen to music all the time, but it's quite broad.
I'm bored with
But
it.
I'm gonna have to pick out one which would be my wife's wedding song, which
Yes.
was "If This World Were Mine" by Luther Vandross.
Okay. That's what, and I've changed it at the game again now. If they're married, I'm going to ask them what either their first dance song was, or what their song is, because that keeps it a bit more Cherrywood. So thanks, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be upbeat if they listen to that at the end.
What was it again? Because I've forgotten. Write it down, mate. Saves me having to look back at this video.
If This World Were Mine.
Saves me having to look back at this video.
You can do some work.
Right.
If I pick anything modern, it'll be like, oh my,
So Luther, I was talking over it
Luther
again, mate.
Vandross.
If This Was Mine, was it?
If This World Were Mine.
If This
It's
World
a
Were
duet between him and someone else. I can't remember who now. But yeah. So look,
Okay, perfect. That's going to go on the playlist.
Yeah.
So I'll put ours on the playlist then,
Oh, no.
There you go.
which is this year's Love, isn't it?
I thought it was Smack My Bitch Up.
Oh, there you go. You are what you are. You can't.
Hello, my bitch.
You can't fight.
Who's she referring to? Me or?
Well, I don't know. That's for viewers to determine.
But thanks, mate.
Thank
really
you very
enjoyed this
much.
podcast.
Thank you so much for
Lovely to
coming
meet you
on.
both.
This podcast has been brought to you by Snugdubs Camper Van Hire.
Roam the world, park anywhere.
That's snugdubs.co.uk.